on your behalf. Because I didn't have time to talk.
Okay, are we ready?
Yep.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for those who are joining us here in the boardroom and those who are joining us via Zoom for our regular meeting of the Monterey Salinas Transit District Board of Directors. Today's meeting of May 8th of 2023. Just a couple of announcements before we begin. During today's meeting, the public does have several options to participate. Today, if you can join us in person here in the board conference room. You can also join the meeting via Zoom, and the meeting ID is located on the agenda for today. It is 845-0083-6234. Passcode is 652252. You can also join via telephone. And that number is 1-669-900-6833. You can use the same meeting ID and passcode as Zoom. And we can please get before. So I will call this meeting to order, sorry, at 10:05.
And I just, a couple of announcements that I'd like to make.
Okay, so before we begin, then we have our CEO that's going to make a couple of announcements before we begin with our agenda for today.
So for today, just some news. We have board member Alejo from the County of Monterey participating remotely, so we will have to have roll call votes. We did agendize that appropriately, so that we're good there. We have our alternate from the city of Seaside.
Oops, I think that's mine.
We still, yeah. There we go. Nope.
Okay, no. I'm muting.
Sounds like we're on. You have to get your mic in there. Yeah,
No,
you go to your sound settings.
It's okay. I'm gonna log out of it. I just wanted to be able to see, but I'll look at the screens.
Okay.
That's fine.
And here, you can use my paper agenda. Here,
All
there
right.
we go. We have our board member alternate from the city of Seaside with us today, Alexis. And Lorraine Worthy let us know that she has a hard stop for herself at 11 a.m. And will be discreetly removing herself from the meeting. So if you look up and see that she's gone, it's because we planned it that way. That concludes my announcements.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much. Again, we'll move on now then to the next item on our agenda. And at this time, we do have a swearing in of our new board member, Ariana Rodriguez from the city of Greenfield. And I will turn this over to Mr. Sidoric.
Do I have the swearing in in my packet?
I mean, you don't have it memorized, Carl?
Sorry, we had a flurry of activity this morning with Zoom crashing and people needing to be plugged in. So
Does everybody have their ID card? Okay.
Yes, yes, thank you.
I don't,
Thank you. You don't?
I don't have mine.
I think this was for when we got our pictures.
Oh.
Did yours expire? Maybe yours didn't expire yet?
And I just brought what you gave me down.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll make sure everybody gets their ID card.
Flashlight is.
Well, thank you. So they're gonna ask you-
Trying to check everybody out.
Bear with us for a moment while we get our script.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, Ariana, if you could stand and raise your right hand. And I, say your name,
Ariana Rodriguez,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution
that I will support and defend the Constitution
of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will meet well and faithfully, and don't do that part, and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
General Counsel, can you help us with the roll call?
Yes, roll call here, City of Carmel by the Sea is absent. City of Delray Oaks,
Here.
City of Gonzales,
Here.
City of Greenfield,
Here.
City of King City,
Present.
City of Marina,
Here.
City of Monterey,
Present.
City of Pacific Grove,
Here.
City of Salinas,
Here.
City of Seaside,
Here.
County of Monterey,
Present via Zoom. And sorry, I couldn't be there in person because I'm at a Cal OES training in Sacramento. Thank you.
thank you. City of San City
Here.
and City of Soledad,
Here.
we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. So we'll move on to our Pledge of Allegiance. And at this time, if I can ask our new Director Rodriguez, if you want to lead us on our Pledge of Allegiance, please, if we can stand.
Ready, salute.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so I will turn it over now to Mr. Sidorik to review the highlights of today's agenda.
Thank you, Chair. Among the normal items, we have a relatively light agenda. Not sure what that means for the length of the meeting, though. So we have the disposition of 6 MST-owned vehicles that have reached or exceeded their useful life. You may know that I have put out a word to community groups and community leaders that they can repurpose those vehicles and get them from MST for $1. And we also have a recognition of former board member Martinez, as well as our other recognition presentations. We have a draft Title VI program update, and you get the first peek at a draft of our operating and capital budgets for the next 2 fiscal years are also on the agenda. We do have a closed session item at the end of this meeting, so please make sure that we keep a little bit of time for that. Shouldn't take too much time, maybe 15 minutes or so. That concludes my review of the relatively light agenda.
Thank you. So we'll move on to our next item on the agenda, which is public comments on matters not on the agenda. So at this time, any member of the public may address the board of directors on items not appearing on the agenda. Speakers shall have a limit of 3 minutes. Please be brief and to the point. The board will not respond immediately, but may choose to follow up later individually or through staff. As a reminder to make public comments on Zoom, please make sure you use a raised hand feature. That should be at the bottom of your screen in order for us to be able to recognize you and unmute you. At this time, are there any public comments on matters not on the agenda for those that are joining us here in our board room? Okay, seeing none, any public comments from those that are joining us via Zoom? Okay, so I do have one public comment, Mrs. Eddie McGregor. If you can unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted. Eddie is my last name. A friend of mine has been trying to address this board. Her name is Janet Wilson, and I came on, so she's trying to talk to you right now. She's trying to come in.
So is she, I don't see her.
It says Janet 4.
Janet 4. So we're looking for her, but I. Oh, she is. Okay, so she is here with us. Janet, would you please like to unmute yourself?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I could not figure out how to raise my hand. I don't usually have trouble with the Zoom, but things were moved around. Thank you, McGregor. What I wanted to say was that I've been spending a lot of time on this wonderful stone bench in front of my house lately, that I had the foresight to ask a gentleman building it for me to put in a little flat stone so that when I got old, I could sit here and wait for friends and taxis and things to pick me up. But I'm not old yet, and I'm still sitting on this bench. So what happened? Well, MST in December cut the bus service out of my neighborhood, just ripped it out totally. The bus used to loop around me in 3 directions. I could just walk to the bus and catch it. And now I have to go a full 15 minutes of walking in the street with the cars, dodging cars. And I'm a totally blind person with a guide dog. And, walking in the street is a dangerous thing. Anyway, so I started thinking about why I'm sitting on the bench so much. And the rides program is just not adequate. I've been late for multiple meetings that I'm trying to go to. I was in charge of running the Zoom at my Quaker meeting the other day. And, the van's 45 minutes late. They call me up and say, oh, well, we can't get you till a little after 10. The meeting started at 10. I need to have my bus back, please. I do not understand how the entire city of Pacific Grove can only have bus service until 7 p.m. in the evening. It's just not feasible. I saw people crying on the buses when this thing changed. People had to change jobs. Some people moved. Others, like me, are just staying home more often. I have, since I sprained my arch of my foot a few weeks ago, been using the rides program, but I do not intend to continue that. It doesn't work for me. They're always late. And that, the zen of bringing my bus back. I just heard the sound. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Mrs. Wilson, for providing that information. And I know that staff gathered some of that information that you discussed today and will be
I'm still waiting for action.
get your information to be able to discuss what we can do. At this time, do we have any other members of the public? Okay, so I do see Mr. Christopher Wilmot. If you can please unmute yourself.
Greetings, nice to meet you. Hello, yes, I'm Christopher Ian Gonzalez Wilmot. I was wondering if we'll be able to get more long range based MST service. An idea came to me, and I'm pretty sure Carl's heard this one too, is going to having the 28 and the 29 go to Santa Cruz via Watsonville to connect to the line 17 going to San Jose. Because like this, we're also still looking to keep this one stop available, at NPC for the JSA or the B. An idea came to me basically that may work out. Like during the summer or maybe after the summer, as soon as you guys get more drivers, could we be able to get more long range based buses? It's either we have to get the 23, which is the King City going to Salinas. Can we get the King City going to Salinas via Salinas going to Gilroy though? Then we'd be able to catch the line going to San Jose. Would that work out? Just if you have any comments or concerns. Trying to say we need more long range buses and we also need to do somewhat of an overhaul, but we also need to basically, and I'm not too sure about like if you guys are getting enough drivers yet, because I've been asking the drivers on how many more drivers you guys are having to hire. And I see that you guys are down 20, yeah? I was thinking maybe just get like more incentives based to get more drivers to apply or more coach operators to apply for the bus system by either increasing the payment or getting more lines to be available. And also, we need to make sure it's more accessible too. Going back to what's her name said about Pacific Grove. It's also called, you need to be able to go with what the workers want, because not everyone out here does online work. Mainly it's mainly blue collar jobs are the norm out here, if that's true. So yeah, and that's all I have to say. And thank you very much. And if we could get that done, that would work out at least after the summer or during the summer when there's going to be that surge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Woolman, for those comments. Those are noted, and we'll be able to look at some of those suggestions. I know Drivers Challenge have been working on some of those incentives to be able to have additional drivers, so we are working on that, on the recruitment part. So I see Miss McGregor Eddie.
Yes.
Would like to unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm unmuted. The point I wanted to bring up for myself is I have been trying to figure out how to go to San Jose. I believe there's a song. It's not the direction, it's how to get there. 55 is gone. If that's gone for good? I was trying to figure out how to get there, and there is an expensive Airbus that you can catch at the Prunedale station. And I figured that out, and sometimes it's worth the money. And one time I was at the MST and they said, oh, we can help connect people with that, but it's not written anywhere. I think people who really need to get to San Jose need to know the Airbus is an option from Prunedale, although expensive. When the MST office is open, the wonderful people at the window help, but most of us travel when it's not open. So we need to know that that's an option. That taking the Airbus from Prunedale is a way to get to San Jose, unless there's another way to get to San Jose that you know of that I don't. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
thank
it.
you so much for those comments. We will be having some announcements. Our CEO will be making some announcements at the end of throughout the meeting, be discussing some of those issues in regards to the transportation issues to San Jose. Okay, any other comments? Okay, seeing none, then we'll close the public comment period. Thank you everyone for your comments, and we'll move into our consent agenda. Today we have 11 items on our consent agenda. So at this time, does any member of the public wish to pull any of these items for additional discussion? Okay, do any of our directors wish to pull any of the items from consent agenda for either discussion or communicate questions? Director Barrera?
Yeah, I'd like to pull 3.7 and 3.8. Just I read this letter, and I think it's great. Whatever public is hearing us, I think it's good to let them know how Measure Q is doing.
Okay, so we'll pull 3.7 and 3.8. Director Barrera, Director LeVar.
I just have a comment on 3.10.
Okay, 3-10. Okay. Any other directors? Okay, so then we will entertain a motion to approve all the other items on the agenda, the consent calendar, with the exception of 3.7, 3.8, and 3.10.
Move to approve.
Second.
Do we have a first and a second? Can we do a roll call vote, please?
Who made the motion for
Oh, Director Emilio, and then second, Director Carbone.
Okay, thank you. All right, roll call vote. Director Barron is absent today. Director Shirley,
Yes.
Director Worthy,
Yes.
Director Rodriguez, Director LeVar,
Aye.
Director Smith,
Aye.
Director Emilio,
Aye.
Director Barrera,
Yes.
Director Carbone,
Yes.
Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Velasquez
Aye.
and Director Alejo.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passed for consent items 3-1 through 3-6. Oh, I'm sorry, Director Fisher.
Yes.
Sorry. So the motion passed for consent items 3-1 through 3-6 and 3-9, 3-11.
Thank you. So we'll move on to Director Barrera, item 3-7 and 3-8.
Well, Madam Chair, I think this is great news that we're actually spending funds the way we said we were, and being that this is a tax, I would just like whatever public is listening to us, that maybe somebody make a comment on the success of Measure Q, what we're doing there.
Yeah, thank you, Director Barrera. So we'll do both for 3-7 and 3-8 since they're on the Measure Q. Both of them are respective to the Measure Q Oversight Committee. And the letter that we received as part of the Board of Directors stipulating that all of the funds, they went through a comprehensive budget process to ensure that all the funds were expended in accordance with the Measure Q and to be able to serve those individuals within the Measure Q. So I'll turn it over to Carl to give us a little bit more information.
Thank you, Chair. The Measure 2Q program, which includes special services for veterans, seniors, and persons with disabilities, has been a great success. It was first passed by the voters, 70% of the vote for, so a wildly popular measure. It's a 15-year measure, and we will be looking at a renewal in the coming years. Actually, you have that on our action plan in the coming years for staff to start doing some research on what will it take to actually renew that sales tax in the future. But just to let you know, that program funds our MST rides programs for people with disabilities that prohibit them from riding our fixed route services. It also funds senior shuttles that provide services to residence care facilities, connecting them with other facilities, health facilities that they may use. It provides direct service from Salinas to the VA DOD medical complex for veterans. It also provides special services to the VA clinics up in Palo Alto and San Jose, San Francisco area for persons needing those special services. We have a volunteer trips program. So if you're outside of an area that's not served by MST rides or our fixed route services, if you're in a rural area, you can have a friend or family member sign up for the program, and we'll reimburse you. We'll reimburse that family member for their mileage to take people to their services. And then we do a wide variety of travel training, everything from youth groups with the various school districts. They have students with special needs, teaching them how to ride the bus, adults with cognitive disabilities, teaching them and their caregivers how to ride the bus. Any number of activities that go on a day-to-day basis. Christy Sagabo is not in the room, but she's on the line. She leads a team of really caring and dedicated people who are just out in the community daily. If you haven't had a chance to tour our Salinas Mobility Center in downtown Salinas, we built a street environment inside our offices there where you can get on board a very realistic set of a variety of different buses with wheelchair lifts, crosswalks, various different topographic treatments to the gravel and cobblestone and various things that a person with disabilities might come across. And we can train people how to use the bus in a controlled environment before they go out on the street. So anyone who's interested in seeing that, it's really quite a unique thing that we were able to build with Measure Q dollars. So Measure Q has been a huge success for this community. And that's all I can riff off the top of my head. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl, for that. And also, part of the report that we received as well is, which I think is really important because a lot of the rides program is also used for health-related matters. So 40% of the MST ride trips are for those individuals that need dialysis, and that's really significant because it is a matter of life and death. And to be able to provide that service is really critical. So I just want to say thank you to the Measure Q Committee Chair, Sid Williams, for providing that letter to our directors, and also for the due diligence and making sure that all of the funds that were approved by the tax voters that are being directed to serve those special target populations in our communities. Thank you. Thank you,
That's it.
Director Barrera.
That's it. I make a motion to. That's an awesome project. I mean, you guys are doing some great work. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. Okay, so do we want to take, do we need to take it by item,
By roll call.
by roll call?
By roll call, but what
Okay.
you could do is you could lump in the remaining consent agenda items if you'd like to entertain item 3-10.
Yeah, let's do that. So that way we can do all those. So Director Labar, I'll turn it over to you for item 3-10.
I just wanted to comment on this one. Carl has mentioned many times that we have these buses that are end of MST's life service. And I think it was Salinas that took one, created your mobile science station. It is frustrating to see that there are some assets that the community could use, whether regarding homelessness or new opportunities for our children that aren't being utilized. And I don't understand why not.
Yeah.
Honestly, when you can have a structure ready to go to house some homeless individuals, or at least one family for $1, and we have all these homeless dollars that are being expended, and yet this is not being utilized. I know you bring this up all the time, and this has been years and years and years of this. I just wanted to highlight that my frustration and my appreciation to Salinas for taking the lead on that, because I think the children are gonna love that. So
Absolutely.
you guys are doing an awesome
Absolutely.
job there. That's it.
Yeah, thank you, Director Labar, for highlighting that, because that is really important. So Director Barrera, did you have some comments?
Yeah, and Madam Chair, right before this bus, we had also got one of the smaller buses. We took it to Mexico. But you know, one of the things that's exciting, if there's groups that are listening to us, Hartnell College at the LSL campus has an awesome program. They took this small bus, fixed the air conditioner, fixed the hydraulics for the wheelchair ramp, did a major tune-up on the motor. I mean, it was, and then this paint company, these gentlemen got a hold of what the project was, and they said, let us paint it for you, let's touch it up. It went brand new. I mean, it's just, they're fantastic community projects.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for highlighting that, Director Labar and Director Barrera. I think for us in our communities, it's really being able to be strategic and looking at how can we utilize this, what funds, and maybe Director Barrera will reach out to you to see if we know, yeah, how much it costs, right? Because I think for many of the cities, if we have the partnership and looking at what partnerships and the cost, I think it'd be easier to be able to provide that information either to our directors here or also to some of our nonprofits that may be listening to us. How do we partner and how can we get these exciting opportunities to be able to repurpose these vehicles that are really critical? So thank
Excuse
you.
me, Chair, I have reached out to Director Barrera myself because I am also interested in doing this. I have been trying to contact this person that you gave me the number of, and I've been having a difficult time trying to connect with them. So I love the science project that they're doing in LaSalle. I just think that's an excellent deal. So
Well, later on, we can talk.
we can talk some more, but
Yeah.
I agree with everyone. I think it's amazing if we can do some things with those buses. Thank
Yeah.
you, Chair.
Thank you. So with that, I will entertain a motion then to approve item 3-7, 3-8, and 3-10.
So moved.
Okay. So we have motion made by Director Worthy and second by Director Emilio. Roll call, please.
Okay, Director Barron is absent, Director Shirley,
Yes.
Director Worthy,
Aye.
Director Rodriguez. Yes. Director Labar.
Aye.
Director Victor.
Yes.
Director Smith,
Yes.
Director Emilio,
Yes.
Director Barrera,
Yes.
Director Carbone,
Yes.
Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Velasquez,
Aye.
and Director Alejo.
Aye.
Thank you, the motion passed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So we'll move on to our next item on our agenda, and today it's recognitions and special presentations. We have 3 of those for today, and I will we'll begin with item 4-1, recognition of the 6 years of service for our prior MST Board of Directors, Mrs. Yaneli Martinez, and I'll turn this over to Mr. Carl Sador.
Thank you, Chair. We have a certificate resolution that was adopted by your board on consent for appreciation of Ms. Martinez, who served 6 years on this board. And I and staff really appreciated Yaneli's participation in that. She was a regular transit user. Her and her family used transit to travel not only in Greenfield, but between Greenfield and the South County cities, and would keep me informed on what was happening and, more importantly, what wasn't happening. So she also volunteered her time to participate in numerous outreach events with MST in the Greenfield community, as well as South County communities writ large, and also took volunteered her time to travel with MST staff and board to learn more about public transportation. And I can tell you, for those of you who've been on some of these transit excursions to our various workshops, they're not easy. It's a lot of time spent in transit, and then you're eat, drinking, and living transit the whole time, and they can be fairly exhausted. And so Yaneli took the time to go to Sacramento, to Atlanta, to Washington, D.C., and I know was well appreciated by the staff and by the board. And during COVID, we also I believe we may have missed her with her 5-year pin because we generally made a presentation, but when we weren't meeting. So I will be providing this resolution and the 5-year pin to Anna to pass along to Yaneli when you get the opportunity to see her in person. So just wanted to take that opportunity to thank her for her time and dedication to our board. Thanks.
Thank you, Carl, for those comments. And I just want to make a few comments as well. And I know she's not joining us here today, but I do want, again, just echo Carl's sentiments. You know, for six years, she was part of this board. And I think for many of us, obviously, as our elected official positions, there's a lot of boards that we serve that we're part of. And as MST, for many of us, is one of those boards that, you know, obviously is really important to our community. And I think the board itself does a lot of good work working in collaboration with our team as well. So I just want to say thank you to Ms. Martinez, because she was really instrumental in being the voice of the residents in Greenfield. And we're excited to have Ariana join us as well to continue that advocacy. And as many of you know, during the pandemic, she was a real advocate for her community and making sure that our Wi-Fi buses were deployed to the school children out in that area. And also on Senior Recognition Day, I know she traveled from Greenfield to be able to bring seniors up to the board, to the Board of Supervisors, to make sure that the seniors understood the process of being able to utilize public transit and, you know, utilized transit herself. So we just want to say thank you for your unwavering commitment to the residents of Greenfield and also to the board at MST during your 6 years here. So thank you. And I'll open it up if any of the board of directors want to make any comments. Director Emilio?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, it's been a pleasure talking with Yaneli offline and on emails. And when we were here, we chatted a lot. I also saw her at the League of California Cities. She was an advocate for I forgot what subgroup she was with, but I met her in the lobby and she explained to me, and she's always been a pleasure and an advocate for MST. I just wanted to add that on. So
thank you, Director Emilio. Director Barrera?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I also want to, Director Martinez was an advocate for transportation. I mean, she loved the work that she did or she's doing. You know, getting involved not only with the labor movement, even through transportation, but also she always brought up fresh ideas of how to better service her community. So, and I concur, she had a good working relationship with the city of Salinas, and she continues to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Barrera. Director Labat?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to echo the sentiments from my fellow directors. Personally, I've always enjoyed working with Yaneli, and she did a great job for her community here on this board. So I'm gonna miss her.
Thank you.
But we're glad that you're here.
It's hard. I'm sorry.
Okay, and
Chair
I just would like to also say that Yaneli was a strong advocate for Greenfield and all the South County areas in regards to transportation. We brought her during the COVID that she got the Wi-Fi. We got the Wi-Fi bus down there for the school kids, and it's been a pleasure serving with Yaneli. As long as she's been on this board, and I don't know, we might have missed a city because I do know she went to Florida too. We went to Jacksonville.
Yeah, we went.
Oh, you
Yeah,
you
yeah,
guys did. I
yeah,
didn't.
yeah. But she did, she did do a lot of advocating for transportation and and she still continues, with the being pest for the pesticides. So she's a strong advocate of many things, and I'm sure gonna miss seeing her, but I'm sure we'll see her other places. So in Trent.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. So with that, we will move forward then to our next recognition, and that's item 4-2. And today is the Employee of the Month for May, and I will turn this over to Mr. Norman Tubuki.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity, Chair and members of the board. My name is Norman Tubuki. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Monterey Salinas Transit District. Today, I'd like to formally recognize Naveen Nishal for the Employee of the Month for May 2023. When we started thinking about ways and employees to recognize as the Employee of the Month, we always think about, what extra did somebody do? Was there something special that someone did? And collectively, we started speaking with our frontline supervisors and other managers within operations. And we all kind of came back to Naveen. Naveen is a 21-year career employee. He's a coach operator. Over his 21-year career here at MST, he's received 25 job-related awards and recognitions for the job that he does. He consistently demonstrates his skills as a professional MST coach operator. Some of the things that I've noted here, he's consistently greeting his customers and our community members with a smile, welcoming them on board, making sure that they're safe and transported with courtesy and dignity. Naveen's supervisors and his coworkers describe him as hardworking, highly dependable, and a joy to work with. I'd also like to point out that during the atmospheric river events, Naveen came in at some weird times, right? 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. He was always there to contribute, always there to, say, hey, I can come in and I'll do that shift. I'll make sure that the people that need the help receive the help that they need. He goes outside into the community and really represents MST in a positive light. And I want to take that moment to just say that as well. Anywhere he goes, he's well received. I've ran into people just talking with them about what I do for a living, and they usually come up with somebody that they know. And many times I've ran into people that know Naveen just throughout his community engagement and the things that he does here at work. So with that, I'd like to recognize Naveen as the Employee of the Month for May 2023. He couldn't join us today. He's actually taking some rest time to recover and get back to work. Naveen is an excellent example for MST employees to follow. He is considered a transit ambassador.
Thank you, Norman. I think one of the special things about this board is that recognition and being able to recognize our drivers, being able to recognize the team here. And, as you said, Norm, the coach operators are the face of MST, and they're the ones that have that day in, day out connection with our community. So to be able to have someone that does it, so, that just his commitment and does it with a smile all the time, it's really important. So please extend our congratulations to Mr. Nishal for his commitment and dedication to MST.
Will do.
Yeah, thank you. So I don't know if any of the directors want to make any comments. Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to our next recognition, and that's a retirement.
Yes, we do. We have a retirement of Cindy Urquidez. She is a coach operator, or was a coach operator. She retired a couple of days ago. She started back in 2006. She consistently provided great customer service to all of her passengers and her coworkers. She demonstrated acts of compassion and empathy. I went back and just did a quick search of the last 18 months of any customer comments that we received. 0 negative customer comments. Just a great person to work with. I got listed here some keywords: gratitude, grateful for the time that she worked for MST. She was very reliable and always professional. Other keywords that I wrote down, I put professional, always positive, well respected within the community and in the workforce. She's one of the the few female coach operators that we have, and she definitely stands out with her performance and the way that she treats people, the way that she handles her bus. Reliable and dependable as well. And so I'd like to recognize her for her 16 years of service, and her official retirement date was May 2nd, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. So please extend also our just wishing Mrs. Urquidez farewell and congratulations on her retirement. And thank you for all those kind words that you expressed about her too, especially the gratitude, gratefulness, and reliability in this job, especially as a coach operator. Reliability is huge, especially for our passengers. So having done that for 16 years, it's pretty magnificent. So, thank you so much. Please express our gratitude and more for her leadership. And obviously we need more women in transit, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our next item on our agenda, which is public hearing. Then we have none for today. So we'll move on to item 6, and we have action items. And for that, we have 2 action items for today. And we'll begin with item 6-1 is receive draft report from August 1st, 2023 through July 31st, 2026, and adopt a resolution approving our program update from Deanna Smith.
Good morning. Chair Velasquez, members of the board, MST staff, members of the public. I'm Deanna Smith, Civil Rights Officer for MST. And today you have before you our draft Title VI program update and resolution 2023-36 approving the Title VI program. Because of the size of the program, we had a link in the agenda to review it, the public participation plan and the language assistance plan online. So you have before you here just the program portion of it. As required, the public participation plan did go out for a 30-day approval period. And so today we just look forward to your any questions you may have and your approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deanna, for providing that presentation on Title VI. Board of Directors, I will open it up to see if there's any comments first, and then we'll take it out to the public to see if there's any comments from the public, and then we'll bring it back.
Just a quick comment, Chair. I just want to express my great appreciation to MST and staff. When I first came on the public transit, I did not quite understand all that public transit does. But the fact that we take the time and the care to make sure that we're serving all of our populations, that we're making sure we're treating everyone with dignity and equality is something I've just been proud to play a small part. And MST, when I learned very, very quickly, I believe is a leader in this industry in ensuring equitable access to all. So thank you, Deanna, for this work, because I know this is a mountain of work that has to be done, and a lot of boxes that have to be crossed and ticked off for our federal government. But thank you for doing that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director, for those comments. Any other comments from the Director Barrera?
Yes, and Ms. Smith, thank you very much. And I totally agree. It was a mountain. I mean, this is a lot of stuff, but it's exciting stuff. And for whoever's listening to us in the public, Ms. Smith, just in a nutshell, I know it's a lot, but this is exciting work. It's a collaborative effort. Just in a nutshell, tell us what the by doing this, what's the benefit here for our service provider? For
Right.
whoever we're serving?
Yes, well, in a nutshell, Title VI is a civil rights protection, and it protects on race, color, and national origin. And specifically, that relates to language assistance. So no one can be denied service or to be able to participate in any of our service because of language barriers. So we have to do certain analyses of limited English proficiency within the residents of our service area. Limited English proficiency means that someone speaks English less than very well, as reported on various census questions. So for this year, in previous years, the previous three, we have had as our LEP languages Spanish, Tagalog, Vietnamese, and Korean. We actually are down to just Spanish and Tagalog now as our LEP languages because the numbers of LEP persons in those other language groups have dropped. So we have to make sure that we train our staff, from coach operators to operations supervisors to customer service representatives all across the board, in their particular responsibilities, depending on how much they interact with the public. And we can meet these people. We have to remember trying to ride our bus, at bus stops, at our transit stations, even at the scene of an accident. So we have in place training and avenues to reach people in real time, very quickly, and they can determine what language that person speaks. This is through language line services, get someone on the phone or even video. We even have opportunities for American Sign Language to be able to assist them in the field as they need it as quickly as possible. And I can also state that our coach operators are stellar and all of our staff are stellar at this. It always sounds scary at first, like, you mean, what am I going to have to do? How long is the bus going to have to wait? But we really have a great system to dispatch operations supervisors to the scene and to provide this service in real time. And we really have very few to none complaints regarding access due to limited English proficiency.
And you know what, Madam Chair, and I do appreciate all this service because, tomorrow morning, I take the bus maybe a couple of times a week, I'm always observing, not to be critical, but coach operators are no longer just drivers. Somebody said, well, he's a driver. No, he's a social worker, mental health, everything. Yeah. And the empathy, the compassion. Yeah. I've seen seniors, sometimes they are missing a coin or something. Somebody, because of what happens in that bus, it's amazing. Somebody's always willing, hey, here's $1. It's an amazing friendships in that bus. And it's the attitude of the coach operator. So I totally agree. Wow, we're ahead of our times here.
Thank you, Director Barrera.
Sure.
Thank you for that.
If I may,
Director Worthing?
I also want to say, from the perspective that my children used to ride the bus to go to school, because they went from Gonzales to Salinas, they learned a lot on the buses. It was one of the things that I really felt was important for them to get on a bus, to see different kinds of people who gets on the bus. And they developed just exactly what you said, relationships with the people that rode the bus every day. So I do, and that was kids that were, teenagers. So I think it's really important that they learn that experience. And I think it really has developed them as adults today because of that access. So thank you, Deanna.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Deanna. Director Amelia?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Deanna, for doing all this. I know most of our cities all have these, and it's great that you're doing this, and it's great. I was just curious. Now it's probably check the boxes. I'm not familiar with this, but does it says federal funds. Does the feds ever come down to do an audit or anything? Just curiosity.
Oh, yes, they do.
Not that I say that there's a problem or anything. I want to compliment you, but I was just more curious about, do they show up?
Yes, this is not optional, and you do not get to cut any corners.
I'm not
And
saying you're going to.
no, but it's very prescriptive, and you have to make, and it's not just the language assistance. For instance, you notice we have a public participation plan. That means that we are required to take certain efforts when we site facilities, when we have major service reductions, fare increases, to notify the public So we have to make that particular outreach. And then, of course, we have the language assistance plan. So there are a lot of elements that has to get reviewed by FTA. And if there's anything missing, or if they feel something's wrong, they kick it back and say, fix it. Or hopefully they immediately approve it. And then, of course, all of this is audited every 3 years through our FTA triennial reviews. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, Director Emilio, for that. So I have a couple of questions, just really quick, and then I'll take it out to the public. But thank you for putting that together. My comment, and just reviewing the information, is one of the questions, one of the data points in there is making sure that our committees are racially diverse based on membership, and that encourages obviously minority participation when filling vacancies. I did notice that on the, I think it's the Measure Q committee, that the percentage of the breakdown was a little bit different. So I know, based on the population we have in Monterey County, 60.4% are Latinos, but yet we only have 14% versus 57% under the white category, and then 29% Black. So can you just share with us what are some of the efforts that we're doing to make sure that we're meeting those demographics?
Thank you for asking. This is a particular area where I feel we do need improvement. Our committees, unelected committees, by the way, so it's not board because you're elected, but unelected committees, and that is our Measure Q and mobility, our MAC. We are supposed to show a diverse representation, and that's by gender and race, ethnicity. Now, technically speaking, when we have a vacancy on one of those committees, we ask your board, if it's in your jurisdiction, to make some recommendations. And I can always give advice on where we could use, certain categories of individuals to create a more diverse committee. The challenge is that people have to be able to get to these committees. Now, with our virtual world we live in, I think we can actually ameliorate that problem and actually encourage more people to participate so that we can reach that diversity. But I'm going to really look into working with our mobility services and Jeanette and Carl to let me know when there are vacancies so that we can reach out to you and hopefully focus on getting our committees more diverse.
Yeah, thank you, Deanna, for that, because I think that's really important, especially when it does happen. I know for us, if we're busy, but I think encouraging the directors that when it does happen within our areas or within those pockets that we have a say, that we can really support others to be part of these committees that are really important to be able to ensure that we're doing, that we're providing the services transparent and then just equitable across the board. So thank you for that. And then my other question is in regards to, obviously, there is a distribution of population and jobs in Monterey County. And based on that, including low-income populations and minority populations, MST will distribute transit services. And then it lists about 40% of fixed route service in Salinas and Baranda, about 40% in Marina, Seaside, Sand City, Monterey, and then about 20% fixed route services in other areas. My question to this, since we just went through the Better Bus Network, are these consistent within those percentages that we identified as part of the Better Bus Network?
That's where I got the numbers.
Yeah. Oh, okay,
yes.
perfect.
Yeah, it was just in time.
Okay,
Just in time for the update.
Great. And then my last question is, how often do we do an assessment of the current needs for future amenities? I know it talked about bus shelters, and obviously I know we have a transit manual, but how often do we know? I know we do them, but how often do these assessments take place?
I'm not actually sure I can answer that, but Lisa May, I don't know how we review. I know if we every time we get requests for those amenities, we look, but I don't actually know how that's monitored annually.
Lisa or Michelle could possibly answer that question. I know that we have a demand-based model that shelters are, based on the number of riders that, will if a certain threshold is reached, we have a full shelter with cover. Slightly less, we may have a bench. Slightly less, we may have a pole with 2 seats. Slightly less, we may just have a pole. And so there are thresholds there. But Lisa, if you have anything more.
Yeah,
to
no,
add.
that's exactly it. Lisa Reinheimer, Assistant General Manager for MST. When we're looking at installing new bus stop shelter locations, obviously this is really important to make sure that all ADA amenities are included in that shelter, but with over 1,300 bus stops throughout our entire system that have been here since the dawn of time, we are grandfathered in from an ADA perspective. And to upgrade each and every one of those would be a huge unfunded mandate for this organization. So as we are looking at different stops, whether they're new or we're upgrading, we're obviously meeting that demand of ADA.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that, Lisa. So it's really not an assessment that's done on an annual basis. It's more on the demand and
Yes.
based on the need.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, well, thank you. So with that, I will take it into the public to see if there's any comments or questions from our public on item 6-1. Okay, and we do have a comment. Ms. McGregor Eddie, if you would like to unmute yourself, please.
Yes, I'm at this meeting on behalf of my friend Janet, who you heard speak earlier. And I was familiar with how MST operates. And the reason I wanted to attend is I was very surprised that it was so hard for her to speak to this board. This was her third attempt. And if I had not been here, she would have failed again. So I do not understand if a college-educated English-speaking woman who is completely blind and very competent at it can't speak for this board. I would think the obstacles for a poorly educated person that does not speak English would be very high. So I think you need to look at your interface with the public. Somewhere along the line, your eagerness to hear from people is not being reflected in the first person who answers their phone call, because this woman tried for months to speak to you and could not.
Tried to speak to me.
No, this board.
Oh.
She tried to attend this board. One time she went in perp on
So Ms.
with the, yeah, that's all. This
Yeah,
board.
thank you for your comments. So we'll make sure that we find out just who she tried to call and what number. So that way she has the correct number to be able.
That is not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying this exposes a systemic problem, which at this high level of the board and administrators, everybody's very, oh, we're all open access. But somewhere down the line, when people answer the MST line, which I call frequently, and you need to know what happens at that end. That's where you need to look, not just fix this one person because she's articulate and she's friends with McGregor, who'll give you a hard time. You need to know what happens to the person without her determination, who gives up after 2 tries, doesn't come back for a 3rd try, and still needs to bring someone mouthy with her to get your attention. So I'm just saying, you need to know your attention is hard to get.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. We appreciate that. And thank you for being here to assist. To assist.
Okay.
Ms.
Respectfully, Chair, through the chair, staff would disagree with this sample of one that Ms. McGregor, Eddie.
Excuse me, Eddie is my last name, Mr. Sidorik.
So we're sorry to cut you off, but your time has expired.
Okay.
So
Bye.
we are now our CEO will make some comments and then we'll move on if there's any other public comments.
In the, while it's been said that this isn't about this person, it seems to be about this person who has made personal appearances before this board, has had multiple elected officials appear before this board in her place, and members of the public speak to her this issue. Staff has done workshops within the city of Pacific Grove and has had multiple meetings with this single person on this very issue. And we do that as required. Your board has brought your attention to issues with your community members to the staff. And I think you know that this particular issue isn't being treated any differently than any person that comes to our board, and that MST is in fact very responsive to your constituents. And I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Carl. So let me, we do have a comment from Director Alejo.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to add that there is a piece of legislation that is trying to further amend the Brown Act to allow non-decision-making advisory committees and commissions to be able to meet utilizing Zoom type technology. And the reason I bring that up is because it's something I care about. A lot of these advisory committees are purely volunteer. And when we're trying to address the question about diversity and greater community participation in these committees, that's what this bill gets to. The bill number is AB 817. It's moving through the legislative process. It's in the local government committee right now in the assembly. But for me, this would be a legislation that would make the public's participation in our commissions much easier and not have to travel long distances just to be able to attend in person when our technology has evolved so much to make the community's voices easier to be active in these committees that we set up. So I just wanted to point that out as perhaps, I know we have our legislative lobbyists, that maybe that could be one thing that MST can consider supporting as a further enhancement and modernization of the Brown Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Alejo. We'll look into that. I know that there's some other support on some other legislation that's moving forward on some of the Brown Act revisions. So thank you for that. We noted that AB 817. Okay, so with that, then I will bring it back to the board for action.
Second.
Okay, so we have a first by Director Barrera and a second by Director Emilio. Roll call, please.
Okay, Director Barron is absent. Director Shirley,
Yes.
Director Worthy. Oh, she. Director Rodriguez. Yes. Director Labar.
Aye.
Director Vischer.
Yes.
Director Smith.
Aye.
Director Emilio.
Yes.
Director Barrera.
Yes.
Director Carbone.
Aye.
Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Velasquez.
Aye.
And Director Alejo.
Aye.
Thank you. Action item 6-1 with the resolution 2023-36 and the Title 6 draft is approved.
Great, thank you. So we'll move on to item 6-2, and that's review of our draft fiscal year 24-25 operating capital budget summary. I'll turn this over to Mrs. Reinheimer, and this is on page 63 of your packet.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Lisa Reinheimer, Assistant General Manager for MST. And first, I'd like to give credit where credit is due. Right over there, Andrea Williams, she's our finance manager, and she's put the draft budget together, and I'll be reporting on it. But for super technical questions, I'm going to be calling on her. So it is budget season, as you probably already know, within your own local communities. So yay, fun stuff. But I think the best part about a budget is what it says and what it conveys in terms of priorities for our community. So I'm going to get into that in a second, but it is a balanced budget with the use of reserves that we've been carrying over for the last several years, thanks in part to the federal assistance that we received during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I will not say that word anymore because the emergencies are over and it's time to move on, right? So we have an operating budget, a capital budget, and then further delineated by our fixed route system, as well as our rides ADA paratransit system. Some of the highlights that are the fun part of the budget that we'll be getting, that we're recommending this year on the operations side is free fares continuing in the community of Pajaro throughout the year, and preliminary information in terms of what you've already approved. The week before the free fares, we had 72 riders. The week after, we had 155 riders in the community. That's up 115% or 83 more than the previous week. We had a customer service representative go out to the community of Pajaro and let the folks know that these bus stops are free. So we'd like to continue that in our budget. It's very nominal in terms of an impact. In terms of marketing, I'd like to highlight that we will be exerting a bigger push on our contactless fare payment system. We are in the process of putting new validators on our buses at the end of this fiscal year, early next fiscal year. And so in order to get most people into the contactless fare validator onboard payment, we want to market it and let people know that this is available to them for our own financial reasons, in that the regular fare box does cost a little bit more to maintain, to deal with cash, et cetera. So getting them into a contactless situation for their fares is much more advantageous for us. We'll also be starting the Monterey trolley service with a partnership with the city of Monterey and others, May 27th through September 4th. In case you didn't catch that, that's Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day weekend. And then Carl, did you want me to announce Gilroy?
I was going to do it in my.
I will leave that to you. It's included in the budget. And then also one increase in travel training for innovation. And Carl asked that I hand that over to him to explain a little bit more about that training effort in support of our technology and zero emission bus needs in the future.
Sure. Your board has consistently over the years pushed MST and its staff to be innovative and to be a leader in the industry that we serve. And we have consistently done that. Examples in recent years have been the MST was the first transit operator to put an inductively charged wireless charging system for a battery electric bus in a public right of way in the country. We were the first to implement contactless payment systems in the country, and also the first to link those contactless payment systems with a government issued eligibility verification using login.gov. As we move forward, attempting to continue to be innovative and leading our industry in areas of zero emission buses, hydrogen fuel cells. Those of you on the administrative committee heard that we had a earmark community funding priority request that Senator Padilla has accepted and is trying to push forward through appropriations to outfit our facilities to be eligible or outfitted for the use of hydrogen in a safe manner. We're continuing to push that envelope, but what we're finding is that within the US, frankly, we have become a leader, and even as a small agency, there's not many peers for us to look at for guidance that are either here in the state or in the US. So our trade association, the American Public Transit Association, has put together some trade missions, transit operators going to various parts of the world to look at advancements where many of these technologies are actively being used, and the US has just fallen maybe about 10 years behind with the use of technology. There was recently, I was approached by APTA to participate on a mission to Australia and New Zealand, and it sounded very tempting. It was 2 weeks, but as I delved into it further, the types of transit operations that they're visiting are 900, 1,000, 2,000 bus operations, Melbourne, Sydney, Victoria, Christchurch, large organizations that really don't scale back to what MST needs, which are smaller, but and covering larger distances than the average. So, and it would cost MST $27,000 for me to attend,
Okay.
which I didn't think perhaps was the best use to spend on one trip to see a lot of large agencies. So some discussions with the chair, some discussion with my peers. I asked to be included in the budget, some funding to allow research and innovation to occur, but more at our size and our space, and using our consultants. I've identified some areas outside of the US that are outside of some of these major urban areas. So rural, more smaller operators that are outside of the large urban areas that are implementing these technologies that are more comparable to MST in size and scope. So I'm asking for some budgeted funds for MST staff to go outside of the country, outside of the box, to really see and talk to practitioners who are using technologies that are a decade ahead of ours, so that we can come back with those ideas that we need to put into place so that we can comply with the California zero emission bus pilot, so that we can continue to offer innovative ways for our passengers to pay contactless systems, and then also for autonomous vehicles, which I think are the three major technologies facing this organization in the next 10 years. And really, there are no peer agencies in the US that are doing much more than what we're doing now at scale. So we have asked for this to be in the budget. The amounts are such that, had your board approve this budget, I have the authority to sign off on it, but I'm not comfortable doing that. I wanted to be, transparent and say that this is in the budget. And unless you have strong objections about staff doing this type of research, we can also remove it from the budget. So we'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Carl, for that. So do you want to finish? We do have a comment from Director Labar.
I was going to go on to the capital budget, but I can hold here and
Yeah, is it
finish
related to
later.
this? Yeah.
It's actually this very topic. So one, strong support when it comes to research on autonomous vehicles. I do believe, and I've said this to you many times in this board, that autonomous technology, and when the vehicles come into implementation, the natural home is under public transit for many, many reasons. Secondly, looking into the alternate modes, the zero emission fuel sources. I'm glad we're moving that direction. I hope that Padilla moves that request forward and gets us funded. And I just want to highlight why it's important in our region. There are other agencies, specifically our park rangers. We just heard from the Pinnacles Park Ranger, who has a mandate of, they're trying to find new ways to bring in people because their constraint is parking. But without having hydrogen production facilities or hydrogen available locally, to have a private company come in to create a shuttle service out of our communities to the Pinnacles in a zero emission ways, it is crucial that MST leads here and provides the infrastructure that can be tapped on by the private sector to maximize reduction in VMTs, maximize access in multiple different ways. So I highly appropriate, and I would encourage all the directors to keep this component into the budget. And thank you for not just writing it off, because you could have. And I appreciate that transparency. But these things are very, very important to our future in this county, because we do lead the way in so many different areas. As a small rural community, we're doing a lot of good work here.
Thank you, Director Labar, for those comments. And just to add to that, I think for us, even in our rural area, obviously our footprint is very different as well. So being able to ensure we're not like in LA, we did a whole transition of their electric buses, but their footprint and their range obviously is a lot different than for us, right? When we have such a rural community and it extends from miles and miles. So it's really important to be able to look at different alternatives. So thank you for those comments, Director Emilio.
Yeah, Carl, the zero emissions is just the electric buses. Am I correct on that?
Battery electric or hydrogen fuel cell. That is what the state has defined as zero emission for us at this time.
Well, I have a country you should go to.
Okay,
Portugal.
Portugal.
My wife and I were there in January, and it's a large, it's either in Lisbon or Porto, where there's a university there of 25,000 students, and there's 0 buses going up and down. And what we were really impressed with was so quiet as they were going down the street. I mean, there was a ton of them. And so that's a country you may put on your list, but I agree with Mayor LeVar that we need to keep this in the budget.
Thank you, Director Emilio.
Are we talking investment?
Director Barrera. Well, and I think I just to go back to what Director LeVar said, I think for us, MST has been that progressive innovator in the transit, especially in the small transit operators. And to be able to look at this in the future, right? Because this is coming. And how do we make sure that we're set up for that and that we're looking already at at technology that exists that, you know, we want to be able to see deployed in the next 5 to 10 years. And being able to get a handle of that and looking at some of the technology that doesn't exist here, but exists somewhere else, and being able to position ourselves for that time.
I have to agree with you. I think it's very important, but not only that, it creates jobs in the long run. It has a sustainable future for MST that can then grow and be the leading role for other agencies. And if we're already doing this, why stop at this point? I think the more we can incorporate new ideas and more transitions, the better our residents are off, but also our constituents with more jobs.
Yeah, thank you, Director Rizzola, for that. Thank you. So yes, one more comment and then we'll finish off Lisa's report.
Just gonna ask what countries are already being considered, so we know what not to recommend.
Netherlands.
Thank you.
And so I am the consulting firm that helped us implement the contactless fare system. I've been reaching out to them because when we were implementing that system, you know, we were on calls, literally, I had people from, see if I can go through the list, Hong Kong, Singapore, Delhi, Frankfurt, Rotterdam, Amsterdam, London, New York, and Monterey. We're on these
Toronto.
calls. What's that?
Toronto.
Oh, in Toronto. So they had connections all around the world that were bringing their expertise to this. And so I've reached out to Jeroen Kolk from Rotterdam, who is the lead consultant, and he has initially set up some areas outside of London, outside of Edinburgh, but he's also different countries handle it different ways, and there's some of them are more state-centered, and there aren't real small operators, but others are different. So he's going through and recommending some places that are more MST sized outside of the major urban areas, maybe, you know, 100 kilometers or so outside of a major urban area, that they are attempting to implement what their larger urban area transit operators are doing, similar to what we're doing. But frankly, you know, the largest implementation of zero emission buses in the country of hydrogen is Foothill Transit and down in LA, and they've got 30, right? That's not a lot for an agency that size. And so we're too far behind as a country in general. I think we need to, and for me to follow around a bunch of people from LA and Chicago and New York around Australia, I don't think that's good use of MST's money. I think we can be more targeted and focused with it. So I think we need to do the research, but I think we can do it differently than what our industry is doing. So again, trying to, you know, focus it.
Yeah. Thank you, Carl, for that. And I'm sure you'll keep us posted.
Yeah,
in
there'll
terms
be
of the
full
research
reports,
and, yeah,
full reports.
Once we get ready for that.
I don't want to end up in the newspaper. That's my goal.
Okay, so I will turn this over back to Lisa. Just to complete the report on the budget.
Sure, thank you. So moving over to the capital side, we have a 5-year capital improvement program that we update every year. In the first 2 years, we're funding 3 major projects as well as some non-major projects. So the 3 major ones are the SURF Busway and Bus Rapid Transit project. our buses in support of the SURF project, where we will be using exclusively zero emission vehicles on the busway. And in support of our mandate to transition into a zero emission future by 2040. We're also planning, doing the planning work for the Salinas Operations and Maintenance Facility project. We're going to continue that in this next fiscal year. Couple more items. One is we'll be including at the urging of Director Labar a summary of how our budget impacts our local community using an American Public Transportation Association calculator based on local economic conditions, how our investments, both on the capital and on the operating side, have a multiplier effect in our local community. And I think you'll find that graph really interesting in the budget. We'll also, on your dais there, you have a corrected version of the cash flow that shows where we are today, where we're projecting to see our cash on hand versus what our needs are, including our 15% reserve of operating budget. Our financial break even doesn't happen in these first 2 years of the budget. It happens afterwards. So we'll include, you know, that date and time, essentially the doomsday clock, I guess, for MST. I guess maybe that wasn't all that funny. At any rate, the next steps here are the board is required to hold a public hearing at the June meeting to hear public comments from the community about our budget, and we'll advertise that in a local newspaper for a public hearing, and people can comment on what's included. So that ends my report on our draft budget at the moment. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Lisa, for that. Do we have any comments on the draft budget? Okay, no comments from our board of directors. I'll take it out. Any comments from the public on item 6-2? Okay, seeing none, then we don't, there is no
Receiver
action
report,
item,
yep.
just a report. Thank you so much for highlighting some of those
Coming back in
items.
June with a final budget. for
with
you.
the final budget, and then we'll have a public hearing on that. Thank
Correct.
you. Okay, so we'll move on to our next item on our report, which is reports and information items. So we'll start with item 7-1, General Manager CEO Monthly Report, and I'll turn this over to Carl.
Yes, as I reported at the committee meeting earlier, since the implementation of the Better Bus Network, boardings have increased by over 20% over the same period since December through the March reporting period, compared to the same period last year. Now, there was some natural increase in our ridership as the economy has improved and people have come back from the event that Lisa says we can't mention anymore. So we were on the natural, increasing by about 11%. And since the implementation of the Better Bus Network, we've been increasing at by about double that amount. So we've seen a big increase related to the Better Bus Network. A couple of things I just want to report based on some of the comments that we heard from in the matters not on the agenda, but are pertinent to my general manager's report. Last week, we were pleased to receive a $300,000 grant from the state of California and a commitment from the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Agency of about $70,000 that will help MST start services from Salinas to Gilroy beginning this fall. Final date to be determined. We're coordinating our schedules with Santa Clara VTA and Caltrain. So members of Monterey County on 4 trips on weekdays will be able to connect to the Caltrain, the Capital Corridor trains. You'll be able to make connections up to the Bay Area, out to Sacramento, and buses that travel throughout Gilroy and into the Santa Clara Valley and beyond. So that's a link that has been missing since the pandemic. We took that service out, and now we'll be able to restore it here this fall. So that's great news. Other great news, Kelly reported in the admin committee meeting that we have a class of new coach operators starting next month, and we've made offers that have been accepted to, I believe, 12 coach operators. So that's we'll see.
Interviews.
Oh, interviews, scheduled interviews. Okay. Sorry. But most folks, we'll see. More come. Anyway,
We're hopeful.
we're hopeful. I'm hopeful. I'm sorry. I misheard the report this morning, but that is great news that we even have that.
I like the idea.
I'm confident that these folks are going to interview well. Then a couple other events coming on. If you see this, May is Older Americans Month, and MSD is holding the 4th annual Senior Transit Day. If you don't have one of these at your dais, we'll get some printed off during closed session and have them for you right afterwards. But a group effort, Legal Services for Seniors, the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Service Center, the Blind and Visually Impaired Center, the Alliance on Aging, Independent Travel Network, the Monterey County, what, I can't even read this, the Department of Social Services and Food Bank of Monterey County are holding an event on May 23rd, Tuesday, May 23rd, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Salinas Mobility Center. So a lot of great stuff happening there. On June 10th, 2023, at the Marina Transit Exchange, we'll be having the Surf Transit and Fair and Family Fun Day. That will be Transit Fair and Family Fun Day. So we'll be getting information out about the surf, allowing the members of the community to see and have some input onto what the materials are we're going to be using on the surf. There'll be, food, there'll be music, there'll be bubbles, all sorts of fun stuff going on there. And then Wednesday of this week, I will be leaving town for vacation to Michigan, Minnesota, and Montana, mostly family-oriented weddings, family reunions, things of that nature. And I'll be sending out a notice to your board that will tell you to contact Lisa in my absence, and we'll be giving her written authority to do all those things that I do in my absence, should I not be available in transit from here to there. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Carl, for that report. Any comments or questions? Okay, so we'll move on to our next item on our report. It's a federal legislative advocacy report, and so the information is in your packet. I don't know if there's any questions for Carl. Okay, we'll move on to the state legislative advocacy update, and that's on page 105 of your report. So just kind of an item, and I know it's been on our advocacy legislative updates, but MST is sponsoring a bill with Senator Laird, which is SB 304. And then Carl, if we can, I know Director Alejo talked about ABA 17, if we could look into that. I don't know if I saw that as part of the legislative updates.
Michelle, are we supporting that? That is on our radar.
It is, and it's also in your packet on page 107.
Thank you.
Oh, it is.
And I believe that's the one at the committee meeting this morning. Our advocate said that it's been moved to a 2-year bill.
Oh, it is. There's a Pacheco bill. Yeah.
Yeah, but we are watching that one.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, directors, then we'll move on to the staff trip reports. That information is in your packet. If there's any questions on that, you can reach out to Carl, to the specific team. And then on item 7-5 correspondence, we have none at this time. So at this time, then we'll move on to our board reports, comments, and referrals. So we'll start with item 8-1, reports on meetings attended by board members at MST expense. And I don't think there's any nothing new,
We'll have some
right?
folks going to Sacramento, so
Yes.
maybe next month.
Next month, we'll have some more items to report on that. And then item 8-2, board member comments and announcements. So there is that CTA conference next week in Sacramento on Monday and Tuesday. I'll be attending that. So we'll have more information to come back to report. There is an APTA Transit board member and board administrator seminars in Birmingham, Alabama, and that's scheduled for July 15th through the 18th. Early registration is due by May 26th. Okay, and then we'll move on to item 8-3, board member referrals for future agendas. At this time, do we have any board of directors that want to make any referrals for future agenda items? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to item 9 is attachments of all of the reports that have been presented to us. So if there's any questions on those, please feel free to reach out to Carl. And then we'll move on to our closed session items. So we do.
Madam Chair, on that, in speaking with Kelly Hulkin, we do not think closed session is necessary for today's meeting. We will be coming in closed session next month with more information.
Okay, thank you for that. So there is no closed session item at this time.
Looking forward to that.
Thank you.
That's why they serve.
Yes, well, thank you for that. So if there is no other items of business, then we will adjourn this meeting at 11:33. And our next scheduled meeting is June 12th at 10 a.m. Thank you, everyone.
Chair.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay.
Hey, Joe,
What do you do?
I